Oh, we have a new friend. Look at that beauty. Oh, and it's got a little brother, look at you, Fender Jag, come on. Morning, y'all. What we're going to talk about today is if you're buying a new set of irons, or thinking of getting some new irons, some new clubs. I'm going to give you my top 5 ideas of what you should be thinking about when buying a new set of irons. There's loads of different sets out there, different manufacturers, different fitters, different ideas. What would be my advice for someone wanting to buy a new set of irons? Top 5 today. Looking forward to this. Should be a fun one. First idea has got to be around shape. So when I mean shape, are you going to go like thick top lines, thin top lines, thicker soles, thinner soles, long blade length, shorter blade length, colours, the overall styling and kind of look of the golf club. It's so important. You're going to play with these clubs hopefully for a few years, 3 or 4 years really is a good shelf life for an iron. Not that they run out, you could play with them for much longer than that, and some of you 10 years even. But don't be changing your irons every year or 2 years. Those product cycles are not just for the individual person, you watching this video. They're for the masses, because everyone's buying at different times. If 100 people watch, and one buys every year, one buys every 3 years, one buys every 6 years, one buys once in their life, so on and so forth. Everyone is buying at different times. The product cycles are not just for the individuals. So what more can you get out of a shape? So general rule with different shapes. I've got 2 very different clubs here. I've got my Titleist MB 7 iron. So this is a bladed, very thin top lined, thin sole club. And if we compare that to the thicker soled, thicker top lined Titleist AP1. So these 2 clubs are going to produce different numbers in ball flight, but they're also going to present very different feels down by the ball. So the blade is going to present smaller down by the ball, look a bit scarier, where the AP1 chunky is going to look bigger and inspire confidence. You go and put weight around the outside of the club, where this one just has barring. In theory, the MOI on this club is going to go up. But there's a little caveat with that idea of MOI. So MOI is going to kind of think about it as ball speed drop off, so keeping your distances more consistent as you mishit the club, which obviously everyone is doing. So where you might gain in MOI on the chunky club, if I hit this one, so this is AP1, that is going 164 yards through the air and spinning down at 5,800 revs. Now if I compare that to my MB, similar strikes, that's going 155 through the air and spinning at 7,000. So your generalised rule is if you go more chunky, they're going to take loft off to make sure that the thing doesn't go too high, because they launch up in the air a little easier in theory, even though the peak height of these 2 clubs will be very similar. So by taking all the spin off by the design of, say, the chunkier club compared to the bladed club, what happens is that higher flight with less spin gets more distance. So your 7 iron goes longer all of a sudden, which is a really good thing. Lots of people want that. But you've got to be careful. These aren't the same loft. So where you win in MOI over the blade, you might win in a fraction more peak height, and you win in that extra distance. There's a thing called D-plane. The simplest way to think of D-plane, anyone who wants to understand D-plane more, I've done videos on D-plane, maybe I'll link one in the description and up in the corner. The more you take the loft off the club, the lower loft clubs you get, finishing at your driver is your lowest lofted club if you like, the harder it is to keep it straight. So you gain in MOI, miss hits, ball speed's dropping off. That doesn't happen as much as the MOI shoots up. That's a good thing, so your dispersion is tighter, short and long. Left and right's going to be you. But then you're going to lose in dispersion because you've got a slight bit of D-plane loss in the chunkier monkeys. So I would like to see more golfers trying different arrays of clubs and not just going with the marketing ideas behind clubs. Because you might actually find there are bigger gains to be had from giving yourself more loft. I'm not saying there is, there just might be. That's the general idea between chunky and thin. Both Titleists, you could apply this to any manufacturer, because all manufacturers have their own versions of the chunky and the thin iron sets.
How are you, Uncle Fester?
That's a trim.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put how.
I always really liked you. You've
Yeah,
bet your mum's not happy.
My mum will not.
Yeah, no hats in the pro shop. No hats in the pro shop.
Power caddy.
Oh, nice shot, Dan.
That was nice, wasn't it?
What's your top tip for buying a set of irons? You do a lot of fitting.
I do lots of fittings, yeah.
So what's one of your top tips?
So when guys come into me for, let's say, an iron fit, we talk about, you know, what's happening either end of the bag, so with their current wedges or their current top end, let's say, and then I'm looking at where their gappings are going to be, certainly let's say down the bottom. So if they have a 52 degree wedge, gap wedge in their set that they're not going to change, let's say at this time, then I would look to try and gap that in with the wedge in the set and then blend it into the 9 iron and up from there, because ultimately, as you know, these clubs can move slightly, so companies can have your wedge bent a degree here or a degree there depending on the product that you buy. You can order them in customed to what you need for your set.
So in effect, I guess you're going to kind of bookend them, if you like. So because that only wouldn't work at the bottom, I guess that would work at the top.
Works at the top as well.
If I've got, for me, my favourite, so my 23 degree hybrid, my rinky dinks, which I don't want to change, I need to be going into my fit saying, this is where we need to get to within 10 yards of this club.
I'd be first of all asking the question, you know, what club, and you would say, let's say that your rinky dinks, 23 degree rinky dinks, is your club that you desperately want to keep because it's your go-to club at a certain yardage.
Yeah.
I would then be looking to get that yardage from that club. And then I want to build your set around this, because we might get a 5 iron, let's say it's an AP1 or a TaylorMade M4 or whatever it is.
Start stepping on the toes almost.
Correct. You don't want that club blending too close to what you like to go to. So then you would sort of gap it in off the top of that as well. So as you rightly said, you're bookending your set from your wedges and your, let's say, hybrids or 5 woods or 7 woods, whatever players use. You need to sort of blend it in from there.
And this is where it's so important that a good fitter talks, obviously, to the player, and that the player, like, I've seen people come in the fits and they're nervous because they're worried that they're going to hit it bad, and they want to get a fit, but they don't want to show you their worst shots, as in because they realise then the fit isn't going to be that true. So they're a little bit, you know, they're quite anxious sometimes. So it's important that the players communicate with their fitters as much as the fitter communicates with the players, isn't it? Because if you don't tell me you love your 23, and I don't get to that point in the fitting because I'm not the best fitter in the world, for argument's sake, then you're actually going to spend money where you don't need it, aren't you?
And you're absolutely right there. I think from a fitting point of view, you know, I spend probably 10-15 minutes, you know, whilst they're warming up, just asking lots of questions with regards to their game. What clubs they like, what clubs they dislike. Are they looking to make changes later on? Let's say if it's a set of wedges that they're going to look to change.
Yeah, price will play its part.
Absolutely, everyone will come in with a different budget.
Yeah.
So when players, especially when I'm rummaging through looking at their wedges, I'm looking for wear, I'm looking for where the club is, where they're hitting the club, what they use it for. Is this club used for chipping, pitching, bunker play, whatever? I'll then determine, you know, you can then get into more questions as to, right, okay, well, are you looking to change your wedges? Do you want to reduce wedges? Do you want to increase wedges, as in the number of wedges that you carry?
Yeah.
Do you like a 58, 52? Do you like a 56? All of these questions are then blending into what irons and what setup I'm going to sort of help them with.
Bookend set, doesn't it?
Absolutely right.
So Lofts, lie angle of club. Let's just grab a club for us there, Dan boy.
Yeah.
So for anyone out there, what's lie? Just show me what lie of the club is, so how it
interacts with that turf interaction, should we say, down here.
So toe in the air.
Toe in the air.
Heel in the air.
Heel in the air.
Ideally it would be being presented relatively flat.
Yes.
Disadvantages of having one or up in the air. Let's pretend you always have heel in the air, which is very common through delivery of handles.
Yeah.
This will have a tendency to point more right than you think the leading edge is pointing. So as he changes the lie without changing the leading edge, you can see, and if you toe up, you'll see how it's pointing in different directions. The other thing I always say to students as well, if you go heel in the air,
yeah,
what on earth do they do when the ball's below their feet, apart from top it and just miss it completely?
What do they do?
Well, they just can't hit it. If that's where you are from the mat, when the ball is below your feet, which presents more this way, wowzers.
All over.
Yeah, and then the ball above your feet as well, what probably helps them because it calms that down. So you'll have a tendency to really love and hate one side with lie.
Yeah.
What about loft? Can clubs have different lofts on them?
Yeah, so they all come at, well, not all of them, but let's say all the range of Titleist will present different lofts throughout there, as would Cobra, as would tailor-made,
Callaway,
all the same. So for this particular one, what's this, AP1, this may have, let's say, 30 degrees of loft, whereas if we then compare it to the MB in the Titleist range, that'll have 35 degrees of loft, or 36.
And like you've got irons where you've got them bent slightly stronger to tie in with your bookend idea earlier, haven't
Absolutely.
you? Because you're trying to bookend them, so
Yeah.
you've bent them all to correspond with wedge setup that you want.
Correct. Absolutely right.
So that's absolutely an option again, which is so important why you get your bookends ideas in with your people when you're out there. When we strip loft away, what tends to happen with clubs as well? Easier or harder to hit? So game improvement chunky clubs, you're going to lose a little bit of loft because they tend to go a little bit higher. What might that do to someone's performance?
Well, we've talked about it in the past, but D-plane sort of really comes into it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, we're going to start to see, as soon as that loft comes off, we're going to start to see potentially a lot more movement on that golf ball.
Left to right control becomes harder, doesn't
absolutely.
it? Absolutely. Yeah. So you've got to be careful with your trade-offs between having a 7-iron that goes so much further to then what lofts you're knocking off, which again is a thing about testing. And lie angles for me need to be built around your delivery. So as a general rule, 2 flat, 2 up, so 4 degrees deviation from 0.
Yeah.
If you're presenting your iron 7 toe down, when I used to do fittings, I would say you're not custom fittable, I'm afraid. We need to do a lesson, get you somewhere within 2 degrees out with your lie, and then we can fine tune. Lie changing is fine tuning, it's not fixing. So if you're delivering, I used to get, like you used to get this one, you get a short wan or woman, but then they've got clubs that are really upright. And I would think, well, that's too upright for me, so I'm toe ending it down. You're shorter, how are you doing that? You look at their delivery and they're just raising the handle up loads, and I would always think, well, that's a real trade-off between having a fitting and understanding what technique you should improve on or not. So as I've said it in many videos, your fitting should be as much a lesson as they are a fitting. You should be learning about your delivery. And if there's anything that stands out there, don't be afraid to just stop or say, look, is that something we should maybe do a lesson on, and I'll spend some money there and come back to you and get my clubs in a month or 2 months when I've saved back up after the money I've spent on a few lessons, or whatever way you want to do it. But I was always straight with people when I was fitting, 7-toed down, I'm not fitting that. Unless you're never going to practice and you just want to go with the best you can, your decision. But I'm making you aware 7-toed down can't be fitted for it. You're unfittable as such. It's a balance, isn't it? Because you want to sell a club as a retailer at the end of the day. But I mean, I was...
And it is frustrating because you got to think a lot of people that come in for fitting, you know, it's almost like a lot of the time they want a quick fix.
Yeah.
So you can say to them, look, you know, you're 7 down or 8 down or whatever you're going to be, and you need to work on this delivery, but they just want a club to fix that.
Yeah.
You know, which can be frustrating from a coaching point of view.
What I used to do with students, I thought really interesting, I'd say, look, just give me 5 minutes of this fit, and I'd give them a feeling.
Yeah.
I'd say, just forget all the numbers and how good or bad you feel like you're playing. Just do this action for me.
Yeah.
And I would get a gauge quite quickly of how they would be able or not to change this. Like how much are they fighting this idea of a different swing or not.
Yeah.
And quite often you could get someone to embrace it quite quick, and I'd say, look, that's 5 minutes of your time. I've changed your lie by 3 degrees, you're 7 out. Like, give me half an hour or an hour, certainly an hour. We could get that down to near 0 or 2 toed up or heeled up or whatever way you are. And then we can fit around that. Let's not fit around... When then you get someone who just fights it, they play once a month with some boys, don't care. And you just think, okay, we'll do the best we can do. So lie and loft, definitely something you should work on and understand a little bit with your fitters. When it comes to shaft, any basic rules with shaft? I mean, I would always go on feel with a player.
Absolutely feel. And you know, I'm learning more as I go on with my fittings and things, and definitely nowadays I've moved my mindset away from kind of what manufacturers are telling me.
X speed has this flex.
Correct. To now get a feel of what I'm listening to what the striking patterns are like, and getting a feel of what the player is happy to deliver, and you know what they're happy to use.
Because a different shaft feel can change the strike pattern, can't it? I've seen someone pick up a heavier, stiffer to a lighter, regular, and they have different strike patterns and moving both sides.
Yeah.
And you just think, why would you not give them, even though they don't want that shaft, why would you not hit it? Bearing in mind, if that repeats, you hit it there each time on the face, because you can feel it in a different way.
Yeah.
You know, be open, I think, with the shaft.
Definitely.
And grip as well. I mean, grip thickness and things like that. I would never use that for different strikes and performance of face, which is one of those myths. I would again use that more for feel. I don't know if you
Absolutely. That even, you know, I mean, we talk about grip thickness, but it comes down to the grip itself. You know, there's so many different types of grips out there on the market now. Some corded, some very sort of soft and spongy.
Yeah.
We'll all want different things from a feel. Just go with what feels right.
And for me, the reason I do a lot of videos saying what feels right for you is because I'm trying to empower you as the purchaser, because the pro fitting you doesn't want a lengthy conversation generally about, oh, this grip might do X, Y, and Z, because they know it won't do anything. They want you to be empowered to go, I like blue trousers, give me blue trousers, rather than often when people come to the fits, again, they're a bit nervous. They want the pro to show them everything.
Yeah.
But be empowered to have your likes and dislikes, and your feels are real, they're yours. So, you know, articulate them to your fitter. It will only help them give you a better set. So let's talk set composition. This ties in with what Dan's saying with his bookending of clubs. But also your set composition has to reflect what you want your clubs to do. If you think about me, I stop at a 5 iron and a 9 iron in my set of irons because I've got 4 wedges and then I've got that 23-degree hybrid that works as my 4 iron, 3 iron. Often in a club fit, people end up, including the fitters, going for the easier options rather than delving in to see what benefits you would get over a lofted hybrid compared to a 5 iron. And then the other thing that happens is people are there for a set of irons. So in their mind, they've got a set of irons kind of in there. So when you start talking hybrids, sometimes they don't actually like the conversation. They didn't want a hybrid. The price goes up maybe if you have a hybrid. People can relate hybrids a little bit to woods, where they've come for their irons. When I go onto tour ranges, I reckon the percentage of players who now have combo sets, so chunkier 5 iron, 4 iron and a 3 iron if they carry it over their bladed or semi-bladed iron set, it's got to be close to 80% nowadays. Even the best players in the world are looking for the best launches and help on those harder to hit 200 yards or longer iron clubs. They are. We all should be. And then comes the brand. So many brands to choose from. I've got no problem if you've got a brand alliance, whatever company it may be. You love Callaway, you love TaylorMade, you love Titleist, you love Ping, Mizuno, whoever, Ben Ross, whatever it is. Most of the main manufacturers nowadays will fill all the criteria of the 4 prior tips in their range. So if a certain brand does mean something to you and we can fulfill the long iron requirements, the bookend requirements, give you the fit you deserve in lies and everything else, then absolutely trust it, go with it. You get the service you want from that brand, you get the looks, you get the image that you want in your game from that brand. Absolutely brilliant, go with it, no problem with that. While at the same time, if you want a mix, you know, you want the Mizuno long irons, you want the Titleist wedges, and you want the TaylorMade P irons or whatever, that also is that, like, it makes no difference, because again, each company kind of ticks that launch window, that height, that spin, that distance number that you're after. So brand will play its part. You'll have good experiences, bad experiences with other brands, through them looking after you or not. Everyone's got mix from every company. Having the trust in yourself to buy into the brand that you want to or not is absolutely fine, and a decent buying decision. Right, a few noticeable mentions just to finish. Make sure when you go in there you have a bit of an idea of your budget and tell your fitter your budget. So I used to have to work so hard to get the budget out of the people I was fitting because, you know, they feel like you're going to con them or something. Oh, I don't want to spend much. I just want to know the best clubs I can get you for the money you've got. If the money you've got is £100, I'll get you the best clubs and show you the best way and the limitations or not you can get for that money. If your budget is £5,000, I'll show you what you can buy for £5,000, and if it's any better than what you can buy for 2 or 1 or 500. Understanding your budget, sharing that, working with your fitter will help them get you the best clubs for the money you've got. Reasons for changing, wanting. It's up to you. Doesn't matter, no right or wrongs. This is your money, you work hard, this is your leisure activity. If you want to change every year, you do it. If you want to change once in your lifetime, you do it. If you're changing for an improvement, great. If you're changing for a different look, because you feel that might give you an improvement, fine. If you're changing for a treat, you know, you just want something shiny, you've worked really hard and you want to spend your money, that's brilliant. Don't feel that you need to justify why you're buying clubs with yourself. Do it because the reasons are right for you, and whatever those reasons are, no one should be telling you to stop or not or carry on. It's up to you. Just be careful if you're searching for the answer in equipment. It can be there, but to a smaller percentage. The answer is always going to be in there, in here. Player rules.